a massive, massive thank you to our channel members whose support help make these videos possible. Hello, my fellow kin. Welcome back to the channel. I am joined today I am honored today, dare I even say, to have the presence of the very legendary man himself. I would say the top player who defined an era for the leagues of Votann, Mr. Tim Schneider. Tim, how are you doing?
Hello, Matt. Thank you. I am doing fine. How are you doing?
I'm good. Thank you for asking. Thank you. It's been a very busy week. Like just all the information about the new codex
Yeah.
and just information overload, and you're always just making lists and stuff. How about yourself? I know you've been pretty busy. Somehow you already have like 25 games in with it. We'll talk about that a bit later. What your thoughts are, but
Yeah.
I know you've been quite
Yeah.
busy.
I am so excited. I want to play games. It's like it's a new codex, new units. It's finally something new to hear it from the man itself that only played one list. Let's say it like that. But I really like that we can now finally have like I would say at least 2 to 3 different list types. And also in this list, you can have a lot of changes. What do you more want to go for? And I love it right now. I really love it. Of course, especially with the data slate just coming right behind the door. We all get the leaks every day. We get like, oh no, Dev got leaked. Oh no,
Yeah.
Night leak. What happens here? What happens there? Really excited, especially now that the WTC is over. There's finally some more time for it as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a really exciting time. And on that note, for WTC, of course, a massive congratulations to you and Team Germany coming in second place, and to yourself for being #1 best in faction. Canada
Thank
was
you.
very close to catching up to you for best in faction, but you got him good. And I spoke to him a bit earlier this week, actually, and he said it was a privilege to be in your shadow. So that made me laugh because it was a derivative of your list as well. And I think he even spoke with you at the event, from what he told me.
Yeah, like shout out to the Canada players. It was like super lovely game, super nice game. Had one of my best experience against them, and yeah, I don't think you can say much more. Like I had played against Canadians at the VTV. I have played at the WTC now. It was all every time. It was such a pleasure to play and such strong but fair enemies. So I cannot say anymore. I was really happy when I saw so much people finally taking votes into
Yeah.
WTC. Ah.
Yeah. Well, that's it's very nice of you to say about the Canadian team. I think they did a great job as well from what you mentioned. So Tim, I know you've spoken a lot about kind of your list and your foray into the game, but maybe just
Mhm.
for people who didn't catch some of your other interviews, like the big one on Art of War that you had previously done, like what was kind of like your background on coming into the competitive scene and getting into Warhammer?
Yeah, so like probably like most of the people today will start with this hobby. I started with TTS. Like when I was like 13, 14, I played a little bit 40K with some friends. Then we see how expensive it was, and we were like, nah, we
Not
don't
yet.
want to wait a whole year just to buy 2 units, basically.
Yeah.
And then like when Corona was basically kicking down the street, or I mean Corona was basically over, but like there was still this impact a bit in Germany at least.
Yeah.
Some of my friends started like, hey, we have this cool game, don't we want to go for it again? Then basically it started a bit with TTS here and there, and then last year January or like the year before in December, I started to go to my first tournaments. Like first one a small RTT because hey, let's try if I can do what I can play in TTS where I was already kind of confident in my friend group. What can I do on like real life games? How much is the difference there? Did some really good results there, like basically played against a lot of players that I all the time played online as well, and I won there as well. But then I also had like some encounters with WTC players in Germany or just better players, say it like that, that teach me, okay, here is the wall you need to face. And then it was at one point a decision, okay, how much time do I need to set into the game? How much time do I need to spend on the army? And the maybe biggest part why I'm here right now was Votann at the 10th edition at the start. I think everybody that played it know they were like doxed. Everybody said like nobody can play them. It's like if you want to play them, you can do that, but you can also play like I don't know, do something else. Like nobody
Anything else?
confronts
Yeah.
me for everything. Yeah, and like I played the 630 list, what we all know, I still think, and it was kind of fine for me. Like I had some decent wins with them, like no tournament wins, but like at fourth place on a GT and something like that. Then at one point I was like, there should be something different. Okay, what else do we have in our list? Or what do we else have in our roster from the index? And then I started to discover, okay, you can put these little berserks that everybody hated for some reason into a hackathon that everybody hated for some reason, and you already have quite a good data sheet. And
Yeah.
okay, now I can charge everything and kill everything. And from this point, I think a lot of people that are at least kind of familiar with the competitive scene know that this list were basically going on a rampage
Yeah.
for winning, 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 winning. And it was not just me to say it like that. It's not like Skari playing Drukari and he's the only one who can match because of player skill. There were quite a lot of people that catching up with Votan. I mean, as well, of course, before the list, but like in Europe, and especially Germany, we had a bit of a saying, okay, you have like Tim Schneider, like with my list. We had like Mathieu Clarek, that is a player from Belgium,
Hmm.
and he like played still this day to day like his ten Terminators, the
Yeah.
half guard, and he was still confident as well. But it was like Germany, I think, was worldwide the spawn point for Votan
Yeah.
players, at least at this point as well. Like I know that a lot of people on Discord were like, "Oh wait, what is happening in Germany?" And okay, German matter is crazy or whatever.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah, this
Okay.
was basically a bit of the story there, to
Yeah,
say it
yeah.
like that.
That's the lore about the Tim Schneider list coming to fruition. Yeah, it is funny that you say that. Like meta is so a few thoughts. Like you said, there are so many different dimensionalities of playing 40K. Like I speak to I've had the privilege of speaking with so many talented people on the channel, and like hearing about kind of like how they started with the game, and it always seems to be like this humble beginning of like you just pick up the game because it's really fun, and then as you play more,
Mm-hmm.
you start to get into that more competitive side, and you start meeting people that are better than you, and they show you where you lose to them, and you start learning and training and getting better, and just seeing all the nuance between list building and understanding what you're doing instead of just like copy pasting a list and things like that, and then as in your case, literally defining a meta by like cracking what the code was for the Voltan index. Um, and I think it's also really interesting, like you mentioned, that the meta is so vastly different. I remember literally hearing about how Voltan were usually ranked like B tier, middle of the pack, C tier inside of like NA. And then you look over at the German meta, and it's like Voltan is like the number one menace. Like it is the top army.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was always really funny. So it's cool to see as well, kind of like how local metas shape it, and now even more internationally, metas also evolve and change based on like terrain format and players and things like that, for sure. So that's really interesting to hear. I guess now, in terms of progression in your competitive journey, like how did you first get on with like Team Germany and like joining in from like you said around like COVID days and picking up the army, starting to crack the code with Voltan, getting some traction. What ended up like leading into joining Team Germany and attending Worlds, and then even this year again, like continuing on in that legacy.
Yeah, so I mean, basically, I had like my first real encounter with Team Germany on like my first PT where I was.
Mm.
Like it felt like a bit. I don't want to say like a dream, but it was like first game won, second game won, and for someone that was never like on real
Yeah.
life tournaments, really, it was like, Jesus, what's happening here? Then I encountered like a Team Germany player at that time, Matthias Bellmann. Maybe the people know him because he's, I think, one of the most famous German players, at least in the competitive scene.
Mm.
Um, and like he crushed me. And then we talked about why he crushed me and what happened here and there. And I was like, I wasn't like mad because I was actually really happy because it felt like a bit too easy. Don't want to sound like too arrogant, but like if you're only winning, at one point you get cocky, at one
Yeah.
point you are like getting over the top and be like, okay, nobody can stop me, and then you also don't question like bad moves from yourself. And
Mm.
like this was a really big help for me at the start. And then basically where I live, like a lot of really good people are living, having the same club. So like at this point, I started playing more and more and more with these people. As well, like I joined my team Zugzwang. I, some people will know it maybe at this point. It was like at this time, it wasn't really a team. It was more like four people come together, wanted to shift the German matter in terms of there's new blood in there, and we want to show the old man how it is done. And I was like a part there then, because we had like going to tournaments, we played a lot of times together, and then at one point I was just in the team, and this was like then also my first context how I got into the whole team playment in 40k, because before that I was like, yeah, there's team tournaments. Nah, we don't like that. And then I was like my first team tournament with like teammates, and it was like, Jesus, how much more fun is
Yeah.
that to fight for like the 19-1 just to get 1 point in a really big
Yeah.
matchup to win your team a game or whatever. It was like a complete switch of the view on the game for me. And also, and I would say probably one of the biggest impacts, if you have like 6 to 8 really competitive high players that all play like in the Team Germany or at the level or like from WTC players, you get really good insights on your list.
Mm-hmm.
And we had like this fun part that the people in our team like didn't want to play with me anymore, because each time for a big tournament they were just like so afraid of Votan and hacking so hard into them, and then we never met on the tournament, and their lists were like essentially worse against other
Yeah.
matchups. So we had like a Tau player that all the times picks like 3 hammerheads in his list just to kill the hackathons, and then he plays against Space Wolves with like 18 wolves, and he's like,
Yeah. Now what?
yeah, and yeah, basically. So like this was also like some kind of small matter thing, but yeah, I mean basically then the contact to Team Germany happened just because I won tournaments, then spoke with people, people spoke with me,
Hmm.
and basically then last year in around November I joined Team Germany, and we had like some really big wins at Nations Cup, Eurotrash, Pyra Cup. Like we played against Team US as example as well there. And yeah, then this year the WTC, where I could say second place looks really good for like such a new team in terms of, I think we were 4 people that are completely newcomers, first
Nice.
time WTC playing, and then like 2 people that are veterans and one that was like a second one. So I would say overall quite a good experience and also quite a good final score for us.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like I said, big congratulations. I've heard a lot of stories from the other people I've spoken with playing against Team Germany, and how you guys gave them a massive run for their money. And I'll share a story about that later that I thought was really funny from when I spoke with Nick and also
Mhm.
Greg yesterday. But I think that's a really cool point that you bring up about kind of like the dynamic of being in a team versus practicing in singles, and the quality of players that you get exposed to while you're in a team environment is usually higher because you force yourself to be in that network all the time, right? You're with good people who are trying to also
Yes.
get good with the team. So it's like, hey, like we tried this thing out with your list. I think you could tweak it to, skew towards this a little bit more, or it seems like you're lacking this. So I personally like teams a lot more than singles as well. And I also feel like I've gotten a lot better at the game just being a part of a team. And there is that drive, like when you're at the event, it's like you're scraping for points for everybody else. It's not just for yourself. And it's a really fun feeling when you look around and maybe the round isn't going super great for everybody, and then you manage to punch up a little bit above what your matrix was, and it's like, oh my god, like I contributed to the win, and it feels so good. So I think for sure, teams, if anybody hasn't tried it, definitely give that a go and get your friends in because it's super fun. Um,
Oh yes.
yeah. So I guess with some of the context now that the viewers know about like your progression into WTC and things like that, um, I don't want to say why bring Voltan because you are the Voltan guy. Like that's the question I usually ask everybody else. What made your team want to go with Voltan? But I suppose I guess we could change the question a little bit. Now you're famous for having the Tim Schneider list, right? And I did notice that you made a slight tweak to it for this event for Worlds.
Mhm.
In the inclusion of Thunderkin. So maybe I guess just for people who don't know what your list is, you can walk us through your list, and then we'll kind of talk maybe a little bit about what you were expecting to face and why you decided to make those changes.
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, the basic list that's kind of known as the Schneider list is basically you have 20 Zerg hammers, 20 Zergs with hammers, two in there sitting into hackathons. You have like 3 Sagittars, then like 1 squad of warriors, maybe 2, depending a bit. You have two 6-man squads of bikes, mission and also damage play and playing for like late game. If you have an Iron Master, that was like the #1 character for Praising Glare, in my opinion. And then what basically was a bit new for the WTC was I shifted 2 Thunderkins in, and for that I killed 10 warriors and a champion that was in before. And the change why I made it was like the meta, in my opinion, shifted really hard into knight or vehicle heavy matchups, and on the other side, armies that can counter that. And this was like mass armies. Like you have the GSC, you have like the Corn Berserks, and in both matchups, D6 shots blast are really great, like against vehicles. They allow you to do like your 6 to 8 damage into a vehicle when you normally could say Hackathon can only kill one vehicle because it's normally overkill to shoot at everything at one. But maybe you will not do enough damage. But now you can say, okay, Thunder can do 6 to 8, and then the beam finishes it, and then the other guns can shoot something else, or the bolt guns shoot in the one with the Thunderkin, and the beam can maybe finish something else. And same goes for all the rest. And then you have like 2 small pieces that can actually come on a lot of maps really into play. Like a lot of people are always, okay, you only needed to screen the 6 bikes, and it never really tried to screen 3 Thunderkin, I guess. Like a lot of games, even against really good players, where they could all the time come in and get really good shooting angles. And at least in the index where it was, toughness 6 and 3 wounds are really beefy in terms for the points. Like I had a lot of times where you could actually just say, I charge them into something, you will not kill it. Like even when a 10-man could of Fire Dragons, Boyegen has had like his 5 attacks, and if he doesn't have the flips anymore, 5 attacks, maybe he hit 5 times, but he only wounds on 5. So on average, there should always be at least 1 left. And the small fire range attacks wounding you on 6s doesn't really matter. So it was just, I think, a really good unit and a good way how we saw the meta at Team Germany and prepared for it.
Okay, yeah, good answer. I think that makes a lot of sense. Knights were rampant. That seems to be the common theme from everybody I've spoken with who attended Worlds and tweaking all their lists to accommodate that. I think something that I really always admired about your list, especially, and the way you piloted it, is the different use cases you have for each unit type. And you kind of touched on that right now, where it's like with the bikes, they're damage dealers, they're mission play pieces, and you can also just sack them to tie something up in combat because of their durability. And like everybody else that plays Voltan, I also tried your list several times at other events that I went to varying degrees of success. But the best performances I had using your list was after listening to your interview that you had done previously and speaking about kind of like your philosophy behind how you see your pieces and how you use them. And then I even watched one of your famous games that was streamed live in Germany versus Orcs, where you got like that turn 1 off and you sent all your bikes in forward like immediately to tie everything up. And then it kind of started to click a little bit, like the nuance of the list building. It's not just like a traditional, like this does this and stays back, or this does this and goes forward. It's like literally depending on the matchup, depending on the terrain, each piece can play a different role, and they're like kind of agnostic for that, which is really like really creative and of course like powerful if you use it well and know when you should be sacrificing a unit or sending it in to tie things up. So that makes a lot of sense. I guess like in terms of like the knights and things like that, like were there some maybe matchups that you were really hoping to get paired into, like in terms of like matrix design? Like I know like Votann is pretty decent to a lot of different things, and like you said, the Thunderkin are also role agnostic because they could go into tanks and they could go into like mass hordes and things like that. But from maybe like a preparation or like matrix perspective, what was kind of your role in the team?
Yeah, so I mean, basically, my matrix was kind of the best overall in terms of I don't really had bad matchups. And I also don't really had good matchups. And this was a bit more of, okay, I would say nearly every matchup with the list was winnable and really high if like certain things work together. Like if I have my first turn, if I have my first drop, I can make really this kind of 2-turn punch and nearly knock out everybody. But it could also be like completely different. Like if you play against Atmec, even where you are kind of confident in killing all the small things, if you get first turn, first drop, he jails you, you have kind of a hard time because everybody knows after the scout move, your army isn't that fast. A lot of people see them. It's like really stationary in the end,
Yeah.
especially in times where like nearly every army has anti-tank to kill knights, and this anti-tank will kill Hekaton a lot easier. So the things I was hoping for were at one point matchups where the enemy couldn't fight with my firing power, because I think that the berserks give us nearly all the time the advantage in melee, because they just trade it up all the time.
Yeah.
And if there's an army that cannot really kill you in shooting, it's quite confident. I also still say to the day that the Eldari matchup was nice for Votann because of the interact of the berserks. DM proved me wrong completely, so I was maybe wrong there. On the other side, I got also the 18-2 then against England, so in the end, I would maybe say it's a bit more of a player skill matchup, and then we saw like where the bigger play skill was. Um, but yeah, like Eldari kind of find demons, amazing matchup in my
Yeah.
opinion, because hey, I have 100 shots damage 2 and 90 attacks damage 3. I mean, it's not much AP, but I don't need that against
Yeah.
you. So like, kind like especially matchups where the enemy is relying on like 3 to 4 big blobs, or like relying on really a lot of small blobs with only toughness 3 and not that good saves. Like these are the matchups I would say is really confident. We don't like matchups where it's like Tau with 3 hammerheads on an open map, or
Yeah.
I would still say in the end Knights was a super gamble matchup in my opinion, because Votann has the power to kill 3 knights. But there was also quite a good chance that you did nothing, because
Yeah.
bikes force like bikes are like, okay, on average I should make 18 hits with sustain 2 and then wounding 9 times and then you save half of them, but in the reality you get like most of the times you get like more like 16 hits or so, or
Yeah.
20, but then you wound only like 10 or so or 5, and then he saves all of them. And I mean, at the 50% chances where you overkill him, it doesn't help you. But in the other chance, you're just dead. At so many games when a trap was just standing there with 4 HP left and still one taps the hackathon, and
Yeah.
because it's like can happen,
Yeah.
and you standing there and be like, cool. I mean, can I play that? Yes. Do you want me to play that in perspective of teams? No, because I cannot really give you a number that will come out there. Like it can be between I lose super hard to I win 20-0.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's a good take on it. I think everybody who played Index can relate to this. The army had a real consistency problem in terms of predictable output. Like you either overkill something with a land fortress, or you need to stick 2 land fortresses and 3 Sagittars out, and sometimes it still didn't kill it. And so it was always very swingy. So I actually do agree with that. I know, like, it sounds like a controversial take. Like, people just say, like, Votann are always amazing into Knights, but it's always going to be a dicey game into Knights, because if you don't kill it, then you get tabled. So I do think that there's a bit more nuance to just saying, like, they're judged, I kill them all, because if you don't, then problems happen. Okay, so you kind of just like the role, you're looking for matchups where you could kind of leverage all the tools you have, leverage the profiles, the math, and avoid things where you could get like jailed hard turn one, or be put on the back foot. And I guess like people take advantage of your lack of mobility after the initial scouts come out. That makes a lot of sense, because when I had spoken with some of the other Voltan players from the event, some of their toughest matchups were the ones where they were put on the back foot because they got jailed because they didn't get turn one to move forward. So interesting to see that's still kind of like an underlying theme between all the experiences for Voltan. Okay, so I guess maybe I'd be curious to hear. You kind of alluded to one game against Eldari that didn't go super well. I'd be curious to kind of hear about maybe like if you could walk us through maybe just like one game that did go very well for you, and like we really just see the full power of sort of like your play pattern, or like what the list was designed to do and how that worked. I know you got a bunch of 20-0s, maybe just one of them that you feel is a really good
No,
representation of that.
let's take the both that were on stream. I played against Team Canada,
Yeah.
against your Death Guard player, and I played against the Liam, of course. I mean, the Liam game we said before, I got miserably beaten. Like I can still feel the Belgian fist in my face. Um, but I think the Death Guard matchup is kind of a really good example on how to play the game, and also in terms of how to play the list, or maybe still after the index how to see the different pieces in the different roles, because it was like I was a bit lucky in terms of I could start the game And I placed my army after I know where most of the pieces are really aggressive, what I do most of the time. Like the hackathon was basically standing on the like we had search and destroy, and the hackathon was basically standing on the point that my berserks had turned 1 8-inch charge into Mortarion if I would go first and
Yeah.
kill plague bearers that were in the way. And basically, what I did was like, okay, which are the threats here that I have really hard time to kill? It's like Motarion with the -1 damage. It's, I would say, one of the tankiest models in the whole game, maybe even the tankiest one.
Mm.
You have the Demon Prince, and you have, of course, the Death Shrouds that are just really, really annoying to deal with. And then you have like a bunch of shooting that just outshoots you. So the way here is not to go for a quick rush in terms of I will jail you because he has too much damage. It was more like a game of, okay, how can I deny you as many shoots into me, and how can I do the best shots I can get into him? And it started with things like turn one, the bikes scouted forward and going for like a super big circle where like only two bikes could shoot at Motarion, just that my enemy couldn't shoot at me back because
Mm.
it's two shots, two bikes that shoot free. Is it only maybe 2 or 3 damage? Yes, but hey, you take it. And it was basically for everything as well. Also, let Berserk disembark and standing in a awful position for him because then he couldn't move inside the ruin to stage there, and he could shoot them, but then he gets all of the shots from my army back. And it's then it was like really I think there was a lot of situations where you basically save yourself just over the fear of the enemy that if you roll good in the damage, he loses a lot more.
Mm.
And then in like turn second, basically going full insanity, pushing bikes to like his home field marker just to block off his like shooting things, to actually see things, to block off his terminators, and still be able to shoot. And it's I think one of the biggest parts that I also see a lot of times in other games, and probably the mistake people are doing, if they bring things out of their army, they don't use everything that this unit can do.
Mm.
Like you shoot, you move block, and every time you charge with them in the end. Because yes, it's maybe it's not the best idea to charge with 6 spikes into let's say a plague drone that is melee profile, because it does damage in them. But on the other side, the spikes are dead anyway next turn. So okay, you kill 2 bikes now. Happy birthday, my friend. But your drone is still tagged. You
Yeah.
still cannot rapid ingress your guys. You still are blocked out. And I think this is one of the biggest part there. And I think this was a really good game to see how Votann you can control the map.
Yeah.
And also because I did a mistake as well, because at one point I was a bit too greedy, and if you are too greedy against the best players in the world, you get punished for it. Oh no, no, there are Terminators coming in my back line, and they need to make a charge. Okay, he made it, and then it starts to crumble, and he gets quite good backup on the feed in terms of points. But where you see, I think that Votann is the army that it's like such a big brain army in terms of where do you place troops, where you can stop the enemy from getting to your essential pieces.
Mm.
And if you master it, or at least if you have a really good experience in it, for a lot of enemies, it can just be devastating, especially when they think they are at the top of you in terms of one good turn for them, but then they don't realize that you're just sneaking around on the left side, on the right side.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's well said. The army plays board control very, very well. And like kind of we just mentioned before, like the way you play your list, it if you aren't using all of your pieces to their full efficiency, like in terms of what their toolkit offers, then you're on the back foot. And like you have to come up with these creative ways to almost like it sounds like you're systematically like picking up the key targets, right? Like it's like, okay, if I could stall this unit that can interact with just for example, my land fortress, which is the best tool to attack
Mm.
this unit, I'm going to sack the bikes. The bikes will be aggressive. They'll do this, tie this up, block here, and then on this side of the board, I could shoot for free without worrying about somebody killing me on their turn. So I think it really is. It speaks volumes to like the ability to understand your list and kind of like know what the value is of each unit and how you can get the most out of your army in terms of like just board position and control. And like I said earlier, right? Like if I just tried the first time I picked up your list, I was not using it well, and then like I still probably don't use it well when I do try it. But I think after listening to you speak about it a lot more, like it did start to click that idea about okay, like you can't just keep things and try to keep them alive. Like you need to actually consider the value of different units in different matchups, especially like things are going to be more important than others depending on who you're playing against. So I think that's really, really insightful. There's a funny story I heard here. So during that game against Death Guard, when I was talking to Nick, he was looking because he was playing against your Eldari player, Leaf, I believe is his name, who apparently is very notorious against the Voltan players. They all said that he was the hardest matchup they played all event for Eldari. So I guess it speaks volumes to his skill level as well. And so Nick was saying how he was looking at the score and he's like, I have a chance to get top in faction for Voltan, and he's like, but I'm losing this one. Maybe Tim is gonna lose his game to Death Guard, and he like looks over at the table and he just sees the Death Guard player pick up Mortarion and put it under the table because you killed it. It's like the dream's dead.
Turn 2 like.
Yeah, which is pretty funny. Okay, so then I guess like now we kind of see like the full picture of how your list functions and like what it's best at doing. Maybe we could talk about that Eldari game where things didn't really work out that way, and maybe like what went wrong or what you think could have been improved upon and things like that.
Oh, I didn't see you there, lad. If you're a hard-working dwarf like me, then you're probably always on the lookout for a really good Warhammer miniature deal. That's why I'm thrilled to announce the sponsor of today's video, Secondhand Geek. Secondhand Geek is a US-based second-hand miniature marketplace operating predominantly between the US and Canada. They offer a secure, reputable, reliable, and community-driven platform that allows you to buy and sell used minis. If you're looking to expand your Votann roster or even get started with a brand new army, Secondhand Miniature is the place to be. Consider checking them out using my affiliate link down in the description below. It lets the company know that you found their website through me and gives me a small kickback at no added cost to yourself, so I could buy more miniatures as well. With that said, let's get back to work.
Yeah, totally. So like Eldari game. So basically, I played against Liam VSL, I would say at least one of the top players in the world, maybe even the best player in the world right now. We could argue that a bit. And I was really curious to play against him. Especially because like we had like a duel in like a drum tournament where we played like 9/11, so it was like really tough one. I lost there at one point. I was like back there to get my revenge, and then like I had this game and I was like really prepared because I knew this matchup. I was really ready for doing things, and honestly, like after that, I could say I was much too confident and also kind of too gambly in terms of how I looked into the game. Like my situation basically was that it was like he started, it was yeah, I don't like it, but hey, it's okay. You have like you can go second, so you can chill a bit more. And like 99% of the games, you just winning against Eldari just over time because your indirect picks one per turn should kill a Hawk squad nearly with the same 2-on-1 squad. And then it was like my turn, and I thought, and I still think to this day, Liam made a big mistake. That like it was that I was able with a 6-inch charge to get into his hawks on one side, and both Berserk units would be able to shoot the hawks on the other side. And so my brain was like, okay, if we now shoot on the right side, the Hawk squad or the Banshee squad, I think I targeted the Banshee squad then because I was a bit more afraid of the damage there. Kill like the right side of him, and the left side, the Sagittarius charges into the Hawk. It also takes Rangers and can also take Lickers. I was a bit surprised that Lickers could fight me. I thought he couldn't, but this was my bad totally. And then like things got a bit rough with the dices. Like the both Berserks only kills like 3 Banshees, when on average they should kill the whole squad easily.
Yeah.
Because when you make like 7 shots rolling plus 4, you are at 11 hitting on 2 to sustain 2.
Yeah.
So you make like let's say 9 hits and like worse for the Votann than wounding on 2s. So you make like 8 wounds, killing 4, and then the other one should at least kill 1. But this was one side, and on the other side, I was like, okay, 32 charges in there, it can still blocks everything, and then it should be fine. And then I was confident that with the Berserk charge, I did like a 10-inch charge just for Lul, because I thought if this works, and I'm standing on this left side where everything is tied up in melee, he doesn't really have the firepower to kill me. Of course, he can bring his fire dragons out, but like hitting me on trees, no rerolls, wounding me on trees, no rerolls, I can go to ground. Will they kill like 4 or 5? No problem at all. But will they kill all of them? I don't think so. And like there was 2 mistakes that like Lucas then did like I think 6 damage in the Sagittar even with AOC, but once again like even like 3 damage is enough because the Hawks could do in the fallback
Yeah.
enough damage. And at this point, it started to crack really down because then on one side, Lucas could now charge spikes that were like really far behind, but like once again, 26-inch movement and charge really hurt. On the other side, Hawks were coming down and basically killing a unit of berserks in kind of stupid amounts. I mean, it's all the time. If you see at dices and you are dying, you are like, man, armor
Yeah.
dice is really bad here. And honestly, I don't know it. I would still say maybe 1 or 2 berserks more would be alive, but it wouldn't matter in the situation. And like Lucas killed one squad of bikes as well, where I was really surprised because there was like,
It's a lot of
you
wounds.
kill. I mean, you kill like 3 to 4 bikes. I'm fine with it, but killing like 5.5. I don't know.
Yeah.
And at this point, it was already clear that it was like going dark for me. Like I still had a chance because he placed his fire dragons in a really aggressive position, where like Tree Thunderkin could shoot into them with sustain 2. They're double tokened, double judged. So once again, here the quick math is saying, okay, you make your 3d6 shots plus the blast. So you do like what is it, 11.5 plus 6, so 70.5 shots.
Mm.
You hitting on ones basically because 3 sustain 2, so you make your 17.5 wounds, 17.5 hits, and you're wounding on 2, so you make like your, what is it, 15 wounds, 14 wounds, something like that.
Yeah.
Could argue about the 1. And then he saves on 4, so like 7 fire dragons should be dead, and then only 3 dying there was basically the knockoff for me because at this point, no next turn both hackathons will die, and I have nothing left in my army
Yeah.
to counterpunch it. And then there was like one last situation, like it was already clear we losing, but it was like, okay, maybe I can get with a 19-1 away. I had like 1 bike left that was a melee with like 2, what's it called again? With Dark Reapers, and the
Okay.
Eldari has the like I auto passed because like I had like a challenge card for if you are in the back line you get 3 points. Then I had like behind enemy lines for 3 points, and I had engaged and I had like 2 units left. So it would be like if this bike survives this turn and like can just fall back, that there's nothing you can do that I get my 8 points.
Okay.
And then he used like this ability that you need to make a desperate escape test. Rolled a 2. Okay, I have a CP reroll into a 2,
Oh
and
my
it
god.
was like
Oh my
yeah.
god.
But I mean, in the end, like you don't lose 20-0 just because of dices. I would say the dices made the fall a lot harder than it
Mm.
should be in the end. But honestly, like after the game, I was like I don't want to say happy because nobody's happy if he gets beaten that hard on the stream, especially when you have a kind of like you said legend starters in terms of he is the one that never loses or
Yeah.
whatever. But it was like a good wake up call to be like, hey, like now you had like some real, you were on really like you're way over the top in terms of what you can do, especially against players that are better than you. So chill a bit, think a bit more, play maybe a bit safer, or like go for things that makes more sense, and
Yeah.
don't be like that arrogant prick in the end, I would say. I mean, I don't know if it's the right word, but
Yeah.
honestly, it feels a bit like that, and I think I recovered quite well from it, psychologically speaking, because I still did my points after that.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was but a really good presentation that even if you're thinking you're at the top, there's always someone that is more over you. And
Yeah.
it is how it is. It was an amazing game, and it was also a good vision to see, okay, Votann is not easy. It's not a free win against everything. It's like you do some bad calls, you do some mistakes against the best players in the world. You get really hard punished for it.
Yeah. I think that's really well said. There's a very good lesson in there too, actually. Like just right out the gate, the nuance of capitalizing on mistakes or like the importance of your actions is like amplified 10 times over when you're playing against like the top percentile, right? Like they'll identify what the weakness is and how to exploit it. And just like you were saying, right, like as well, even though you had lost that game playing against him, there were opportunities you just mentioned where you saw like mistakes that they made and you tried to take advantage of that as well. Just unfortunately, that's where the dice didn't support you in your call. But you know, it is what it is. It's a game of dice. But just to say, like that level of impact at the highest level of play, it's a big deal, right? Like it could swing a game completely. And then I think it's a good lesson that you said as well of just kind of like hubris, right? Of just kind of looking at the game and not being too overconfident. Like despite like I'm sure you have an insane amount of practice into Eldari, especially with Leaf on your team, right? So
Yes.
I guess maybe there's like that aspect, like you mentioned, of almost like a complacency and comfort, right? Against like this is an army I've played a lot of reps into. I know I'm very good into it. And then, like you said, maybe you were a bit comfortable in it, and it's like just a wake up call to stay more alert and like not be greedy and not take like high risk plays and things like that. So I think that's a very good lesson to take away for like basically anybody at all skill levels is take every game as if it's going to be like a really tough match and don't get too comfortable with it maybe. But yeah, I think that's really well said. Okay, so Tim, I guess like overall, were you happy with how your list performed?
Yes, totally. Like, I think it was in the final form, and I would say the final form was probably the best form, especially like with the changes we had with like challenger cards and everything, and mission play even less in like an option to play around because hey, I deny you points for my points, and you still get 3 points about challenger or like insane abilities.
Yeah.
I think the Thunderkin were probably best latest invention in there.
Oh, really?
And I mean, in the end, yeah, I would say so. Like it gave you like I saw a lot of games that I had before where it was like, as example, Space Marines had like the time where they played, or still have the time where they played like a billion tanks.
Mm-hmm.
And I always felt like we are okay against like some tanks if we can move for them a bit and then like go one by one against them. But if the enemy plays like 3 Vindicators and 3 Stormspeeders Hammer Strike and 3 Ballistas, or against Astra with like 3 Rogue Adorns and some Alim Russ or whatever, we are always lacking the ability to actually say we can confident kill 2 to 3 tanks per turn without exposing everything.
Mm-hmm.
Also because the ray gun was dog shit
Yeah.
completely, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And the Thunderkin were like just this fine addition. And also I had a lot of games where it was like where the Thunderkins in the Hackathon were a new threat because the Hackathon moves the 10 inches to 1 and let them just disembark on like games with Search and Destroy. It was start like, okay, it's not just a 6-man squad bike I can shoot into you. It's also like 3 Thunderkin that can go down here, and like they're a lot less in points. And it depends on the target, but like honestly, I don't think you would put your Lancer in a point where 3 Thunderkins sustain 2 can shoot you turn 1. Because then it maybe starts that you will actually die because
Yeah.
then the Sergeant can still shoot or whatever. And yeah, I was pretty happy. I also was super happy in seeing how many people just copy pasted my list, even with like wrong spelling or so from some, because I was like, yes, I know this one, I know this list. But I was also like surprised, or like not surprised, like all happy that some other people tried their own thing, like some of the guys going for the 6-man squad of Thunderkin, or
Yeah.
as example England that goes like a completely different approach. What I would say was interesting without judging it, because we cannot judge anymore. But yeah,
Yeah.
overall, I think Votan showed the whole world in terms of content creators and competitive players that we were never a B tier faction. We were a faction that was really considered in there, and I think if Knights wouldn't be on that, and Death Guard, because these armies were or are still kind of broken, Votan would probably be the top, or would be the top army overall in this whole
Yeah.
game or whole tournament, in my opinion at least.
Yeah, I think you proved that theory pretty reliably. I literally I might call this video the end of an era, truly, because I think you literally, I know you're very humble and you don't like it what I say is, but I think you literally like impacted
go for it.
the legacy of the army, like in Index. Like it is gonna be synonymous with the Tim Schneider list. Index, Tim Schneider list. So, and like you said, it was very funny seeing when I was doing the list reviews for WTC, and like the first like 6 lists were all like pretty different, and then like as I got to the end, I'm like, oh wait, hold on, double Berserk, double Fort, triple Sagis. I'm like, oh okay, there's another Schneider list. I'm just keep going down. So it was like literally like it did impact the world, which is like you said, probably very surreal to see and think about. But yeah, that's cool. I like that it's still evolved, right? There's always an opportunity to improve and adapt. And like you said, with
Yes,
Knights and
totally.
with Death Guard, bringing in Thunderkin. I am just curious. I didn't catch this the first time when we started talking, but why the choice for 2x3 instead of 1x6 for the Thunderkin?
Uh, that they can be in hackathons. I think, like, especially on WTC maps, you have like some maps where, like, even with a rapid ingress, the Thunderkin can just doesn't make it over terrain piece.
Yeah.
Because terrain pieces are more than 5, and they can only move 5, and you're sitting
Yeah.
there.
Just sitting there, 2
And
turns to
like,
get out.
and also, like, because without a champion, you lose like one more piece in terms of placing. You get one more piece in placing. It's just like I personally like the small squads just more because they're more versatile, and also you can use them. A 6-man squad with an Iron Master is easily blocked out. It's the same with the
Yeah.
bikes. But like a 3-man squad, like I had some games where the enemy was like, okay, then turn 3 you will come into my home base because I cannot sacrifice anything to screen out the 3-man unit back here, because else you just have like we have too much of a fight going onward in the midfield. And just for the situation, in my opinion, it was the best overall. And also, you don't want to lose them, and the enemy most of the times don't want to kill them because it's 3 guys with toughness 6, 3 up
Yeah.
safe, so still kind of tough. Like, and then think about what was in or is still in the game that kills like 3 wound models. It's like 14. But does your Fortune really want to shoot a 3-man squad of Thunderkin, or like some plasma tanks? Or what else was there with damage 3? Votann Berserks. Do you want to sacrifice 10 Berserks to go into 3 Thunderkin? Probably not. Probably one of
Yeah.
the worst trades you could do.
Yeah.
Like, this is, I think, was a big part in terms of overall you have the threat overloading, and that these guys nearly always are staying alive and he can still shoot 1 or 2 more turns.
Nice. Okay, that
I mean,
makes
it's
a
not
lot of
anymore
sense.
like that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We'll
Yes.
we'll talk about that now. So again, I guess yeah. So with that said, I think it's a good transition point, Tim. So a lot of this discussion you've been mentioning the pros significantly around the stat lines of some of these units, and as we know with the codex coming out, a lot of that has changed. So you were at WTC when I think the leaks came out, right? And did you like look through?
Hurts.
Oh, it hurts, yeah.
And my team captain was like, okay, Tim, you now have, like, we had a deal. We had like, if the leaks coming out through the games, I need to wait to the evening, and I can only allowed to look at them if we don't have an enemy like France.
Oh my god.
And the leaks were a bit before out, and then my captain said, okay, Tim, you now have 2 hours where you can say whatever you want, you can look at whatever I want. If after the time I hear anything about Votan from you, I will find you and I will hit you. Like a bit more hard because like I'm
Yeah.
just super excited, and like I had like this funny discussion with my captain. I was like, here, my friend, if the leaks are coming out in the game, I will set everything on the fucking line. If I go first, the game is fast over. If I go second, the game is fast over as well. I want to read, and once again the stick gets out. But no, for real, it's like
Just throw
I was like
everything.
confident. Yes, yes. I was like, I of course I heard like some I heard something here, I heard something there. But when the complete leak was out, I was like super excited. And honestly, the first thing after I looked through everything, I was really down. To be fair, because like I saw, okay, we have lost +1 to hit, +1 to wound. Okay, this was honestly, we all thought that we will lose that because they want to change the mechanic with the judgment tokens.
Yeah.
But then I saw we don't have a way to. I mean, the +1 to hit, give or take, we have an ability to get that. I still think it's a really bad ability, but we can get it. +1 to wound completely gone. And on the other side, half of our weapons lost strength or doesn't get value even in strength. And also then the other big thing, we fucking lost ignore cover on basically the whole army. And oh boy, I was sitting there and I was like doing some math and doing some things, and I was like, okay, geez, it's like I know, but we get points, right? We get points. And then I saw the Berserk data sheet, and I was like, my captain was like, no, Tim, no, you don't jump, we still need you. And it was good that it was like the first floor, not
Yeah.
higher.
Yeah.
But and then like I was like, okay, but points,
Yeah.
and then I got to points, and I was like, I was. I don't want to say heartbroken because I was really happy in terms of we got finally some new units, but at the first glare I just couldn't see any combinations that like fit into my playstyle that it was before, and I needed some time to figure it out. And yeah, I mean, do we want to talk a bit more deep into what are my first thoughts then here?
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
okay. So
absolutely.
like, the biggest part that I was really shocked about after like some days, like after the WTC, when I had some time, was that the judgment token or the yield point system looks really cool until you think about it 2 hours and you see, okay, after turn 2 you don't need to count them anymore.
Yeah,
Basically,
yeah,
it's like, okay, your whole game plan matter is basically, besides of the berserk detachment, is how do I get turn 2 -1 to wound on my army, and this only matters if you go first, because if you go second, it's nearly impossible once again to don't get it, or the enemy has just blocked you off every marker and you don't play the game that much anymore. So
yeah,
kind of. So this was like the worst part. I mean, I thought when I read like the leaks and also Games Workshop articles where they said yield points will be your new Swiss knife. You can have rerolls, you can have this, you can have that, you can buy new models with it, whatever. It was like everything would be possible with them. And then I thought it was like, cool. You have the index detachment that at least uses them in some cases. And then you have like in each detachment 1 to 2 strats and maybe 1 enhancement to use
yeah,
them, and they don't matter.
yeah,
Amazing.
yeah.
Mm.
So like when I saw the rules come out, like
Yes.
I was excited. Like you said, I think the biggest initial wave of excitement is that idea that we have new things to play with, and it was very obvious that it was a healthier choice to expand the army rule, just from like a design perspective, right? Like whether it was the right call or not, I can't speak to that yet. But just from a design perspective, I totally understand what they were trying to do, and just give more personality, I guess, to like the detachments. Like we saw with Hearthband, right? It was basically dead on arrival because it didn't utilize +1 to hit, +1 to wound as efficiently as Index did.
And also no CP.
And also no CP. Yeah, exactly. So I think like at a fundamental level, I like that they changed from a design perspective. But like you said, like immediately the thing that stands out is like, okay, like I lost a lot of killing power, and ignore cover is really important on AP1. And then you look at the data sheets and everything stayed AP1, and it's like, okay. And like just for example, I played a game yesterday and I had a 3-man bike squad. And usually how I use my 3-man bike squads is I send them out and I pick up like some mission play piece, some cheap little like scout unit or whatever, so that they got to bring something real out on the objective. And it's like I send it out, couldn't kill 5 scouts. I was like, okay, this is problematic now. This unit is just going to probably try to deny points for me. And then like more specifically on the yield points, I felt like it was cool on paper when I was looking at it, but I struggled to see in my head how it would feel, like the flow on the table, like how quickly you would acquire them. It's like ridiculous. Like you said, after turn 2, just don't even bother counting anymore. Like you're gonna get like 4-8 per round. It's crazy, especially in Need Guard, right? Like the index version. It's
Yeah,
insane.
because like you get them if you kill, so if you play the game, if you don't kill and you don't get them, you're
Yeah.
dead. And I mean, if you're tabled, you don't need to count them because it's not like you get points for that.
Yeah, yeah, and you get them on your opponent's command phase, which is crazy, right? Like the Jaegers are there. Like you're always going to get at least hold 1 in no man's, hold your home. There's a Memnir on it, so that's 3 right out the gate. If you have Jaegers in the middle, then that's like 4 right at the start of their turn. It's crazy. Like
Yeah,
you
and
just get so
it's
many.
like, yeah, and just the point when it's like you're holding the middle, you also get the one with like you're holding more than your enemy,
Yeah,
so you
yeah,
get like additional 2 there, and then you're going. I mean, and also because it's start of the enemy command phase, it's basically like you will have one turn where, because you will deny your enemy points, you basically will get at least this 4 to 5, and then in your turn you will get at least 3, or even 2 if the enemy denies everything for you. But even then, we are at 7 points just in one turn,
yeah,
so it's like, okay, and this
yeah,
is not even with like trying to do something.
yeah.
Like I saw like some amazing ideas from people that are saying, turn 1 we are not starting on objective marker, so we don't get the 2 yield points there. And then I saw some crazy math doing that with like not going turn 1 there and then playing, I think it was 3 Memnirs.
Okay.
You can be like until turn 4 in the first doctrine, but even
Yeah.
then, like if you look into your detachments, index, like the need doesn't even want to stand in there. He
Yeah.
wants to stand in the other one because then you can use 2 of your 4 strats. And honestly, the advanced and charge rolls are nice to have. The +1 to hit on objective markers, in my opinion, is just awful because it's all the time if you give an army rule that the enemy can decide to give you, then it's always bad. And then you go into the other doctrine where, hey, we're at least kind of tough. I still honestly think, and I know that this is something controversial, but the -1 to wound would help a lot more if it would be completely for everything. Because then in my brain it would start to be like we are super tanky, but maybe this is too much. Or like give us AOC on a marker. Like just something that makes us a bit more tankier, that is not okay, we now rely a bit on dices that you don't roll 4s, because if you roll 4s, we dead. And then on the other side, you have like this nice rule of if you stay on a point, you get +1 to hit, what is really good in the first time, and then you think about, wait a minute, there will never be a way that I will control with melee squad a marker, because nearly every time the enemy will have like 5 to 10 OC on a marker, or in the most cases, and so I will never be able to get my buff for +1 to hit if I charge you. Okay, really good game design, I guess.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest problem too. Is on paper it sounds really good, but in practice, when you it feels a bit janky. And like a lot of the time when I was playing, I tried 2 forts out with the conversion beamer, which was always the go-to, right? And I still think it looked good on paper, but in practice, like you can't get back in your first army stance. It's impossible. Like you could spend like as many yield points as you want every turn, and you just get them too quickly that you don't have that control. Prospector is interesting because there's a strat to just dump all of your yield points if you wanted to, and enter phase 1. But the problem is that like my forts are hitting on 4s now because they have to be on the objective, and I can't see all the firing lanes from all the objectives as cleanly as I want. And if I do get on them, I don't benefit from the conversion beamer conversion keyword because then I'm too close to my enemies. So it's just like it feels a little bit janky. So I agree. Some of it just doesn't feel good. It still feels like the -1 to wound when it kicks in on the steeljacks is impressive, right? Like they are durable. So good job, GW article. They didn't lie to us. They are durable pieces when they have -1 to wound. But yeah, there are some like arbitrary restrictions that kind of limit it, I think. Like you have to be in fortified to get armor contempt, and it's still just like one activation. It's not like the whole phase. Maybe they're going to clarify that, but it seems rules as written that the FAQ takes precedence. But yeah, I'm not sure.
Everywhere.
Yeah, I'm not
Yeah,
sure.
it's like I think even with this toughness thing, it's in the end we feel tougher, but we are not, because in the end I think Votan, or at least the Votan community, has 2 big problems. The first thing is that we see that we try to compare a lot of our data sheets with other data sheets. As example, the half guard. Everybody is saying the Votan Terminators because they look like the Terminators. They are beefy, but they are not. Like they have 1 less wound. They have at least the same toughness now, but like they can have a 5-up invul, but it's not as a 4-up. It's like they are just worth it, but they're also cheaper. And the Steeljacks, it's the same for me. Toughness 6, 3 wounds, -1 to wound. On paper, they're looking fine. I mean, they are kind of tanky. They are kind of beefy. But on the other side, like, why is not everybody spamming Terminators and just running into you because they are just dying? And these guys have 4-up invuls or wounds. Okay, we cannot do that for the Steeljack, especially because only movement 5. I mean, I will never understand why fucking big moving robots have movement 5.
Long
but
legs.
Hey,
They have long legs,
yeah.
and they move 5. It's crazy. It's crazy.
And I think this is basically, I think finally, Votan, like there are some really good synergy, and I think some things that needs to get addressed, especially like with the conversion, getting lethal and sustain, and spamming everything on 4. And also like finally they did like the transport capacity in the hackathons, that you can finally take 6-man spots in there. But in my opinion, I was like doing some like training, like some experiments there, and I was like, okay, but now in each hackathon I want to have a 6-man squad. Like, should it be Thundercans or should it be Steeljacks? Doesn't matter. But then I don't have enough space to take another 3-man squad or 5-man squad Berserks. It's like in my opinion, we are a bit back where we started, where it was like there's still not enough space to like fit it perfectly or even close to perfectly, like 10 Berserks in one champion as it would have done it. And you need the hackathons in the index detachment basically, because else you will not get into your shooting lanes, you will not get bring in the damage, and also you don't really have units that you can sit on a point. Because everything else gets shot off there. And this feels kind of tough, especially with the points that we have here by like a hackathon for 240, and then I'm looking at a fucking gladiator from the from the Black Templars that has it has one less save, fine, but it has cover, it has stealth, it has a smoke keyword, so it can get stealth and cover. It has AOC, okay, we as well, but only at turn 2. It gets basically every turn 3 full rerolls. It has 2 shots anti-tank, 20 shots medium anti-everything, and then 20 shots against small units, and it's still a transport with 7 spaces that basically transports the same units we want to transport. Just Marines with 3 wounds only have 1, and we have 2. So, I mean, whatever, but it's like, it feels like the units that we want now trying to spam, or that we need at least to stay online in these detachments, are all more expensive. They all have less damage output, and this combination, of course, hurts us. And in my opinion, I mean, why was my old OZ list so good? Because we had an actual melee threat with the berserk that are I mean, they weren't that good in terms of I can charge you 20 inches across the board, but they were like a hackathon here. You need to kill the hackathon first, which is also kind of tough, and then the berserks are coming out. And now it's like, if you just do some math with the berserks outside of the berserk detachment, you can ignore them basically. Besides, I mean, yes, if 10 berserks with hammers come into a knight, yes, they will hurt the knight or they will hurt the vehicle, but it's really unlikely that this will happen now. And everything else, they just, I mean, it's like hitting, it's like attacking with berserks before, just without judgment. And we all know how bad this turns out. It was like, okay, 30 attacks, 15 hits on average, and then it depends which weapon do we have, between 7.5 or 10 wounds, and then the enemy has AOC maybe, or just a 3 up, 2 up save, whatever. It's like we can start to like crumble and even killing like 5 Terminators. And that's really hard.
I think also the delivery mechanism is tougher now. Like I was struggling to find a like safe and reliable way to threaten my opponent's expansion like consistently.
Yes.
That felt a little like, previously the Sagittars with like some warriors inside were great. The bikes were fine too as well for that. I feel like there was a missed opportunity to, like, the Sagittar lost basically everything it was good at doing except for splitting warriors. I feel like what they should have done was allowed it to transport 3s for like Steeljacks and like maybe 3s for
Totally.
Thunderkin. That would have probably been better. Because it just lost all of its capabilities, and like that would have been at least valuable for like turn 1 or 2. Like you throw like 3 Steeljacks out there to like contest and like kill whatever's on it, like some chaff. I don't know. It feels like there's things that I like, there's things that I don't. I only have one game in it with it so far, and I don't want to give my opinion yet, but I know you have a lot more. It seems to be more negative. Is there something in there that's getting you excited to play with? And you could be very honest.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. I mean, like, I did know the games, and like after like 5 to 6 games, I stopped playing basically the index, because it's in the index detachment tries, because it's the same strats basically we have.
Yeah.
The index detachment still tries to be the defeat damage pushing army, and we just cannot do that anymore. Like, I know that like some people are still like having good wins with them right now, and they have like good games. I think if you play against enemies that know how your army works and also have experience in terms of playing against aggressive armies and just deploying a lot of your things just on the line, you get in a really bad matchup, because turn 1 you can most likely not spend the yield tokens for sustain 2 on the beamers, and then you are kind of back foot. And so, of course, you can still try, and we're not saying there's no way, because honestly, I think, like I said before, there's no up to 2 to 3 lists that actually are competitive. But in my opinion, the index approach with damage is at least even less reliable as it was before. And this is because just you need 3 hackathons that also don't work on WTC terrain that well, but like this is a personal problem for me. Then you need like your Thunderkins, you need Utar, you still need like your Jaegers with the carriers because out of them the game is over anyway.
Yeah.
And then we have basically, then we have some Steeljacks and then we're out of points. So
Yeah.
like we have such few units on the field. And this is why I was focused much more on, okay, what is actually the good units now in the codex? Because this was the same approach I did before with my old list, like what were the, in my opinion, best units in terms of points. And okay, what do we have here? We have Jaegers. Jaegers and carriers, I would probably say the best data sheet right now in the codex, that we can split 45 points units with 5 OC and a reactive move and everything. It's like just it's super good. So this was the first thing I always took in there. Then I switched from blades to shotguns
Okay.
because we will not have melee anymore. It's like without a +1 to hit, +1 to wound, there's no way we will ever, like, we don't get +1 to hit because we never control the point that we're charging. And without a +1 to wound, there's no like funny ideas of 10 Jaegers. If you go turn 1 to charge something, getting AP4 +1 to wound, they can murder like, I don't know, 5 scouts or whatever. And with the shotguns, because they are all the time advancing, because we are going now into, in my opinion, into more of a block style army, with the shotguns they can still shoot in the end. Like I still have the chance of doing like 12 shots into something, 10 shots into something. Will it kill something? Probably not. Let's be real. But like I have some games where they like killing a space marine or like doing chip damage to something.
It helps.
It's better. Yeah, it's better than nothing. Like
Yeah.
if you roll dice, everything can happen. Like on paper, with 10 shots, you can make 10 damage.
Yeah.
Who knows? And like this was the part, and then the next thing was of course Utar, what is probably like the best character we have now, from basically being the one named character that nobody plays because he doesn't even have a real kit. I think he only had a hat from Games Workshop that you can switch, and that's it. To our #1 CP generation army. And the funny idea or the funny thing here now is we can basically be an Astra Militarum just on whiff.
Yeah.
Because we can now say, okay, the bikes now going for, as example, advance. If you don't have anything, use it for free on a 5-hour, get a CP back.
Yeah.
And
true.
like that, we can now like generate more of CP. Like I have like, and with the bikes, then on the point, I think Prospect is a good detachment as example there. With bikes, normally you will always want to have 2 strats on them. You like having basically have a really good chance of getting the CP back each turn, and just playing with more CP because we need them. And without going too deep into what list would Tim right now play, because I think this would maybe just cuts a bit over the top here. I think like we all should focus a bit down to, okay, which units are right now really good in terms of points, what can we do, and also what can we not do. And if we see like, okay, I can build a list that can kill a knight, but what do you need to sacrifice for it? Maybe it's time to say, okay, we now have some matchups that we are just not as good as well, and then we need to look how are other armies playing this matchup, and we need to stop a bit thinking about we are the Swiss knife army that can deal with everything, because at least in my opinion, right now we just cannot do it anymore, because we will always at least like 1 of 3 army types that we cannot deal with, maybe even 2.
Yeah.
Like especially 2-up army saves, 2-up save armies are, I don't want to say unkillable, but are at a point where I can just sit here and be like, my man, if you just put your NDK on the line, I mean, yes, we can see and gamble if my 600 king can't kill you, but it's the gamble I would go always if I were you, because after that you have 5 more NDKs, but I don't have Thunderkins anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. The points are a big one, I think. If points come down, I feel like it will immediately alleviate some of my concerns of just like the number of activations that I take. But I think you bring up a good point. Like, that's the way I look at it personally. In my opinion, the ways of the old are dead. This is a new army. It's a completely new army, a completely new book. You can't even look at index anymore. That army is gone. And with it, its legacy. And that's why I think this video should be called The End of an Era. Now, Tim, I just want to end on one more story. So first of all, thank you for coming on. I really appreciate it, man. And a big congratulations, of course, for still rocking #1 Votan at Worlds, absolutely, and to you and Team Germany for all your hard work and incredible games. I think it would be really apt if we can end the story on what you had told me the other week, how your team reacted to the death of your list now that Codex came out.
Yes, it was like we had our final game on stream against Canada. Like once again, amazing game. And when the game was done, like one of the guys just got out like his mobile phone and started to playing like really dark music. Like people would probably know it from like Modern Warfare 2 if you're older or so, and just like salute everybody, salutes there on the list. It was the last time it was going into the battle. It fought well. It did well. And see you. It was like it felt a bit epic. It felt a bit nostalgic.
Yeah.
It was just a really good scene overall. Especially because my whole team was like Tim, 1.5 years. You fucking every day you played the same list. Every day you just fucking made us play that. And finally it's over.
It's over.
Yes, basically like that. There was like at the evening where we had like party and everything. There was like even some kind of toast. How I would say like drinking speech about no more Votan. It's done. It's dead. Kill it.
The end of an era, man.
Yeah, and they sacrificed like a little berserk that I had led, and they light it up on fire. And it was like, now it's gone. Go away, demon. Go away.
Oh my god, I love that story so much, man. It's all I was thinking about before we came online. I was like, I gotta get him to say this one at the end is perfect. Yeah, truly, man, truly the end of an era, and I think you left an incredible legacy behind for Index. And I know myself and everybody else that I've spoken to who has different thoughts about the book are all saying the same thing. They want to see what you cook up next. So we'll see what the next Tim Schneider list is in due time, but we'll give you a break to think of what you're going to build for us.
Totally. And Matt, one more thing we can mention for everybody out there. Like, the next Tim Schneider could be you. Like, you just need to find a list and just play it like for 1.5 years. Yeah. And this could be your spot. Go for it.
Yeah, that's really good advice, man. So for everybody out there, get your codex and start writing lists. Tim, thank you again for coming on, man. Really appreciate it. It's always a pleasure and an honor to have you on.
The pleasure is by me, and I once again thank you for the opportunity to talk here. And yeah, it's amazing. I think we saw it in the last live stream as well, where we like talking way too long and way too deep.
Yeah, we could just go forever, but in an effort to not have Tim be here for 12 hours straight, we'll end it here. But there will be more conversations in the future. You can all be sure of that. So thank you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to like, subscribe, leave a comment for me down below. Let me know what you think about the upcoming codex, if you're excited, if you're down on it, and what you're most looking forward to. And with that said, I'll catch you all in the next one.